projects, programs which impact your daily lives here in Dominica. We are broadcasting from the studios of DBS Radio. We're also live on Cairo FM. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for tuning in to the return edition of Focus on Government and Development. Later on in the program, we'll take your calls for our guest. My name is Dion Smith. I'll be your host on this program. And my guest this evening is the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. He will be with us for the next hour or so. As we talk government, business, and development. Prime Minister Skerrit, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening to you, Miss Dura Smith, and of course to all the listeners of the Focus on Government and Development program. I'm very happy to be here to engage the Dominican public on matters concerning their welfare and their well-being, and of course the country in general. So I'm always happy to be here. This is one of the most important part of my responsibility. It is to report to the citizens of Dominica, and also very importantly to hear from them.
Yes, thank you, Prime Minister, for being here and for consenting to be a part of our return edition, as I'm calling it, of the program. I want to launch right into our discussion, and I want to start by going back not very far to some of the measures announced in the 2022-2023 budget, a budget which was premised on the need to embrace the various opportunities being created by your government to deliver dynamic Dominica. What are some of these prospects which exist for our people to access better economic opportunity and to build more successful lives?
Well, as you saw in the budget, we articulated a number of very progressive initiatives, all geared towards creating more jobs in the economy, empowering our citizens to make more money, and also to enjoy the monies that they've made. We have looked at, if we look at agriculture, for example, there's a huge focus on agriculture at every level, sustaining the existing farmers who in agriculture, but also seeking to attract more and more young people, and especially young professionals, working people, into agriculture, because it's always important to bring in new capital into agriculture so that it can add to what is already being invested. And so we're focusing heavily on growing more food in Dominica, focusing heavily on high-value crops, moving towards heavily in greenhouse technology, and not only just a greenhouse, but greenhouse technology, looking at the hydroponics that we've spoken about, ensuring that we can expand our market share of sale of chicken in Dominica and chicken parts, and looking at also at the at pork and expanding that market base that we have in Dominica. Looking at a number of items that we import into Dominica, and to encourage our farmers to grow these high value crops. We're talking about broccoli and cauliflower and yellow and red bell peppers. You're talking about cantaloupes. You're talking about dragon fruit. All of these things which we import, and we have the capacity and the ability to produce here in Dominica. And so in the days and weeks ahead, you will see us signing a number of agreements with farmers across Dominica, whether it's in banana farmers. Because the intention there is to enter into agreements with existing and new farmers, by where the government will provide them with technical and financial assistance to invest in agriculture. And the monies will be, the investments the government will make in these farmers will be targeted. It will be performance driven. You know, in the past, we just give a farmer $50,000 and that's it. No, we're going to be signing agreements with you, have performance targets, and based on you achieving those targets, then the principal amount given to you would be reduced so that eventually you may not have to pay back anything, but the economy has benefited from your investments and so forth. So we've been identifying farmers, whether it is in the pork and poultry subsector, whether it is in fishing, whether it's in greenhouse technology, hydroponics, bananas, plantains, and so we'll be looking at this heavily. On top of that, we'll be providing DEXA, as we indicated, with funds to increase the purchase of agricultural produce from farmers, both at the DEXA and packhouse level, both of them working together, essentially, so that the whole idea. See, when farmers plant, and once they can get paid in a reasonable time, farmers will continue to produce. And sometimes the challenge which farmers have is that the sale of their produce and the payment sometimes is a bit too long. And so we're seeking to truncate this by ensuring that if you sell to DEXA, if you sell to the park house, you will be able to get paid in a reasonable time. We will also be providing the hucksters with bridge financing as well. So if a huckster would need to buy, say, $30,000 worth of agricultural produce, and he may not have the cash at hand, through DEXA, and we tried this before and it has worked, we would provide you with that bridge financing so that you will be able to pay the farmers on cash on delivery. And so the whole idea also is to reduce on our food import bill, and not have to send out all our foreign exchange and to literally be exporting our jobs. And so there's huge opportunities there, and I am personally excited about this, very excited about this, and certainly our country is going to benefit tremendously from the investments in agriculture. Of course, in tourism, we're pushing very hard in tourism with the hotels that are supported by the CBI program. All of these hotels are going on very, very well. We look forward to some of them being completed towards the end of next year, creating more jobs in Dominica for construction, but also sustainable jobs after completion, because tourism remains a very vital point. And you see, when you talk about agriculture, then you must talk about who's going to eat the food that's produced. And yes, we'll have to import, but we also, tourism is a major consumer of our fresh produce in Dominica. Whether it's fish, the hotels and the supermarkets, the restaurants buy fish that are caught in Dominica. They buy vegetables and ground provisions from our farmers in Dominica. So tourism is very important to promote, and certainly we're promoting it heavily because we recognize too that the creation of sustainable jobs is continues to be paramount for this government. So we investing on this. You also will see, and for example, we also in terms of private sector financing for the CBI, we also partnered for the construction of the cable car, and the Dominica's cable car, when completed, will be the longest in the world, and under construction now. If you go to the Roosevelt Valley, you will see dozens and dozens of young people making their way to work on the cable car. And my understanding from the developers is that at peak time, they will need about between 300 to 400 people working on this project at one time. And so the opportunities during construction, but one can also think of the sustainable opportunities when it is completed. And also housing, we've spoken about number of housing initiatives. Just today, for example, I signed off on the start of about maybe 250 additional homes in various communities across Dominica, from Portsmouth to Cottage to Platmaper to Newtown. We're seeking to, just to speak about Newtown a bit, what we're seeking to do in Newtown is to try to modernize Newtown. When you drive through Newtown, you will see a number of dilapidated buildings. They've been there for a long time, and I'm happy that some people are prepared to sell their lots. And so we'll be building smaller type townhouses along the Newtown Highway to seek to modernize that. So we're going to be, I've signed off on this, and we're just about to acquire some of the lots that people are agreed to sell, and we've had some draft designs for this. So we've been pushing with this, and also some homes in Soufriere, and so the number of communities in La Plaine, the number of communities in Atkinson, we have signed off with the contractors, I believe, to start off on homes there in Atkinson. So the number of areas that will be building, you'll see new construction taking place there. A number of housing construction is taking place. But for us, one of the important elements of the housing revolution and the housing of Dominica initiated by the government is the future housing project, targeting young people and young professionals in Dominica. And for me, as somebody who has had the responsibility of running this country for some time, I appreciate every Dominican, especially a young Dominican who has come back to his country to contribute to Dominica. I know it is not a perfect society. I know that we would like to see many things in Dominica that we do not have yet, and we understand this. But I believe we have to applaud Dominicans, many of whom had opportunities elsewhere, but decided they made a considered, conscientious and conscious decision to come back to Dominica. And the whole idea is to ensure that we can empower them, we can recognize them. And this is following on, Ms. Dura, on the payment of 40% of student loans for Dominicans. I mean, this was a major investment. If a student owed the bank at the time $100,000, the government of Dominica paid $40,000 to the bank for you. $40,000, and this is not a little amount of money. It's a huge cost. And so the future housing program, we are finalizing the drawings and the engineering. I have seen the concepts. They're going to be amazing. And the whole idea is to sell these homes to young professionals, young Dominicans, in order to make the attainment of a home more accessible and more affordable for the average citizen of our country. And those homes will be subsidized, and we're starting in Warner and also at Cotton Hill in Portsmouth. So the number of initiatives, we can speak, I'm sure, later on small business and what we're doing in small business. But these are my opening comments, really.
Henry, you've covered quite a few areas. I feel we can probably just say good night. But I want to follow up on some of the things you mentioned. For example, agriculture. We spoke at length, you spoke at length about agriculture. And I wonder if you could provide an update on the government's decision to establish agricultural depots in our neighboring islands to expand markets for farmers.
Yeah, this is the whole idea behind this is to establish Dominica depots in St. Kitts, in Antigua, and I'm meeting with the president of the Regional Council of St. Martin in Dominica during Independence celebration, and we'll be advancing that concept with him, one with he and his team, because they come in to see us specifically about how can we increase the sale of agricultural produce to St. Martin and so forth. So we look forward to those conversations when the president of the Regional Council of St. Martin comes into Dominica later this month. So the intention is for government of Dominica to invest in the construction of the facility, to acquire reefer containers, and to place in these jurisdictions, so that when the Dominican huckster or the exporter gets to St. Kitts, gets to St. Martin and Antigua, he has a facility where he could keep his produce in cold storage. So we are engaging this government with the intention of arriving at an agreement with them. Once we finalize this agreement, already Antigua has indicated to us that they are in a position to provide us with some space. We will be visiting Antigua very soon to continue those discussions with the government of Antigua, and so to allow for us to increase the export of our produce. But when the produce get to these countries, it can maintain the high quality from from when it left Dominica, because we have to ensure that we continue to provide our markets with high quality fresh produce. So this is an exciting initiative by the government, and it is something that both the Ministry of Trade and the Ministry of Agriculture are working on very, very hard on this, and Minister Douglas has been very helpful in that regard.
As we speak of agriculture, Prime Minister, ministers of agriculture from the OECS meet in Dominica tomorrow, and you've spoken previously of the need for the lifting of trade barriers and facilitating transport of produce among member states. You address the opening ceremony tomorrow. What will be your message to these agriculture ministers?
Well, certainly that will be one of my messages to them. We have a huge opportunity in the Caribbean, And I'm happy that CARICOM has, over the last several months, been discussing agriculture, been discussing food security, and examining why is it that we are not taking full advantage of the opportunities within CARICOM, and to also examine what can be done, determine what can be done to allow us to export to the Caribbean, keep our monies within the Caribbean space, and reduce on the huge food import bill which exists within the Caribbean community. The meeting ministers of Minister of Agriculture of the OECS tomorrow is very important. I believe because we have had functional cooperation within the OECS for an extended period of time, the OECS is really in an ideal position to collaborate and to coordinate. In Dominica's case, we sell heavily to Antigua, to St. Kitts within the OECS. Antigua and St. Kitts have been very good partners to Dominica, and the consumers in Antigua and St. Kitts, they look forward to the high quality produce exported from Dominica, and so it is in Antigua's interest, likewise it is in Dominica's interest to supply these countries, because Antigua and Dominica has no difference. I'm using Antigua because we've had such long-standing relationships spanning literally centuries, and so I'll be speaking to the issue of pushing for the removal of these trade barriers, because that is a major issue. We in Dominica are able to export produce to European countries, but the same produce we can export to some Caribbean countries because of barriers, and sometimes, in my view, these barriers are just there serving no useful purpose, and nobody can explain to you why they're there. And calling on the OECS to expand and extend the collaboration among themselves to assure ourselves of food security. It's an exciting time for agriculture, and this meeting in Dominica is timely, and recognizing that this government of Dominica has heightened its commitment to agriculture in an unprecedented manner.
Mm-hmm. Prime Minister, before we leave this sector, you know that there is widespread interest among our population about the decriminalization of cannabis. Some people argue that is an area government should be pursuing. Can you comment on the moves your government is making to open up this sector?
Well, it's a process. Like many people, we wish it could have been done. The entire process could have been completed in one action. What we did first as a government was to decriminalize a certain quantity of marijuana. So somebody can walk the streets of Dominica with about maybe 28 grams of marijuana, and each household in Dominica, each private household in Dominica, is allowed to plant about, I think, 3 or 4 plants of marijuana in his private dwelling space, and so we made progress. We've cleared the records of many Dominicans who previously had records of convictions where marijuana is concerned. That was done. We announced in this year's budget to provide permits and licenses for people who are in the production of marijuana oils and creams and lotions and what have you, and soaps, because we recognize that a number of Dominican citizens who are suffering from cancer do use the marijuana oil to bring some relief to them, and there are many testimonies of it working, and therefore we don't think it is right in this present environment and dispensation that people should be hiding to provide some medication to persons who are having health challenges. So we're in the process of putting the mechanism in place and the certification of that, and of course that would also involve providing certificates for some farmers to be able to grow and to plant and grow this marijuana. Earlier this year, with the support from the Canadian government, we have received technical support to draft the legislation to deal with with cannabis as an industry, medicinal industry for export and so forth, because there are a number of processes you have to go through to get to that level. So the Canadians are through a program, a project is helping us in that. There is a national committee that is chaired by the Attorney General, looking at the legislation and what we need to put in place, and the various treaties which we need to sign off on, and etc. etc. So we're moving with this, and I believe come next year we'll certainly be in a position to pass this legislation and to have a full-fledged industry, cannabis industry in Dominica, marijuana industry in Dominica, so that we can take advantage of the numerous opportunities where cannabis is concerned.
Thank you so much. You touched on this earlier, and undoubtedly housing is a cornerstone of your government's policy to provide better life for our citizens, especially the most vulnerable among us. Yet your government has come in for intense criticism over that policy. How do you respond to this?
Well, I always say to people that while we do not have a political or a governmental obligation to build a home for anybody, I believe that we have a biblical Christian responsibility to doing so. And people have criticized the government, and certainly myself in particular as the main architect of the government's housing program, for building homes and building homes for people, and in many cases criticized for giving persons a home for free in Dominica. It's okay, you in government, you're subject to criticism, but one cannot contest the fact that we have been exceptional and extraordinary in the provision of housing to Dominica. In every village in Dominica has benefited from the housing revolution. The reality is, as long as we're on earth, until Jesus comes to judge the living and the dead and take us back to heaven, there'll always be a need. There'll always be somebody who is in need, and this is why we continue to build homes. Every single month, every single year, we continue to build homes. I saw a video circulating of a lady who was living in some challenged housing conditions, and this is the very same reason why we are aggressively building those homes, and it is not government's responsibility, because government has really 4 fundamental responsibilities: 1, basic education; 2, basic healthcare; 3, basic infrastructure; and national security. And so, but when these cases are brought to our attention, we act on them. And even if I was out of the country at the time, I asked the Ministry of Housing to visit the lady, which I did on Monday.
Are we speaking about the lady in the Goodwill?
Goodwill area,
okay.
And also the Social Welfare Department, to the Ministry of Social Welfare, to see what kind of support we can give to her. The report I got today is that the house is not in a condition that can be repaired, and so we'll have to build a new home. And I've asked the ministries concerned, 2 ministries, to see if we can assist with a rental of some space for her while we move towards the construction of a new home. And so this is why we're committed to this, and providing as far as we can of the resources that the Lord has blessed us with, the limited resources the Lord has blessed us with, to build homes. And this is a commitment we've given, and it's a commitment that we are fulfilling. Under with the funds that we've contracted from the World Bank, we're talking about 420 homes will be built. And when you look at the homes where people were staying and homes that they have now, free of charge, no money is paid for by them, it brings a certain level of satisfaction to me personally in the most humbling of manners. Because for some of us, the Lord gives us the opportunity to be able to go to the banks and contract a loan, but there are many families with the best efforts will never be able to get a loan at the bank. And what do you do as a government? And so we're committed to this. There are people who are waiting, and I say to them that we will get to you. We'll get to you because your commitment to build homes until we can satisfy the greater need of our citizens.
You're listening to Focus on Government and Development. We are broadcasting live on DBS Radio and the Kyra FM. Our guest is the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Prime Minister, government is expanding its focus on small business development with, among other measures, the placement of monies at the Aid Bank for small and medium-sized enterprises to sustain themselves and expand. Are these measures yielding the intended results?
Oh, huge results. And I always say to us in the government that we do not promote or speak enough to the Dominican public on all of the things that are happening in Dominica as a result of the efforts of the government. There's so many things happening, so many positive things happening. Yes, there are challenges, but there are a number of positive things happening. As you know, we made a commitment to the Dominican public to place at the Aid Bank some $30 million to lend to small and medium-sized enterprises in Dominica, and at an interest rate of 3.5%. That's the lowest you'll get in any financial institution anywhere in Dominica. The monies were placed there in April of 2022. The bank started receiving applications in May of 2022. Between May of 2022 and October 2nd, 150 loans have been approved by the Aid Bank. 150 Dominican businesses have received loans under that facility. Disbursements are going on. They have not received the full disbursement, but the loans have been approved and they are receiving monies to invest. But we have not said that anywhere. And I have chastised the Aid Bank publicly for their slowness and sometimes their indifference. And I think on this point, the Aid Bank has done a fantastic job. And I want to commend the manager and the staff for an exceptional job. 150 loan approvals in such a short period calls for commendation. And there's 150 businesses that have been sustained and that have been provided with cheap financing to expand, to enter into new business ventures, to create jobs for themselves, to create jobs for citizens of Dominica. And this is a commitment we're giving. On top of that, the small business unit have given grants to dozens of businesses. And I keep saying that, and we do so privately. We don't sign these agreements with these people in a public ceremony. And sometimes we think of doing it, but sometimes we say, okay, no, it's okay. But bad news travels fast, but good news, walks like a snail. And so there's so many positive things happening in the midst of this global crisis that we don't speak about. And so we continue to provide small businesses with tremendous support. And it's something that we'll continue to do, whether it is in the support of business plans, the support of financing, technical support. And we have put in place a mechanism in the Ministry of Tourism that's responsible for small business development for the granting of concessions, fiscal incentives licenses to small businesses. And those persons in small businesses know if you can save $1, that's a huge saving for you. For example, there's a young lady who does, I believe she does scented candles or massage oil or whatever it is. And she said to us at the consultation that the oil she brings in attracts a 40% import duty. Once she has a license, she can get a license for 2 to 3 years, then she won't have to pay that 40%. Mm-hmm. And 40% means 40 cents from the dollar. And so she'll be saving 40 cents on every dollar that she will have to pay on this. So there's huge opportunities for them with concessions, fiscal incentives. So when they bring things on the port, they don't have to pay the customs, they don't pay import duties over an extended period. So somebody who's a nail tech or who has a spa, when you have a spa, you need towels, you need proper chairs and proper beds, and you need products. All of these things you can get the import duty waived on it, and this can be a huge savings for you. So I'm encouraging the businesses to apply. We in the government, we in the ministry will help you prepare the application. So you don't have to pay anybody. It is once your documents are in, you can get these concessions within 48 hours.
I'm sure you would agree, though, Prime Minister, that probably a mechanism needs to be developed to track these interventions so that we can be sure that there is a true impact on the economy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in all of the OECS countries, the Caribbean extension, our statistics, the data collection is very weak. For example, I've been saying for many years now, since 2003, 2004, that agriculture contributes way more to the GDP than we're reporting, because we are not able to track the data as we should. And I recall a gentleman in the statistics department did his own survey, having heard me criticizing making this point rather, and he found out that there was he selected 5 agricultural products that we normally send out export, and he found out that we were underreported in some cases by 100%.
That's significant.
By 100%. Wow. And so we really have to improve on our collection of data so that we can see a true reflection on the economy in terms of jobs. I mean, agriculture, for example, the data shows that agriculture contributes 21% of employment in Dominica. I believe it might be higher than that, but that's what the report says, 21%. And so it's small business, some of the tracking, ensuring that we do some of that, where the small business people visit your business, having received support. But I can say, I place trust and confidence in these people. These are hardworking people, conscientious people. Obviously, you'll have one who will not be as diligent as they should be, but by and large, these are decent, honest people who, if you give them $5, we have seen that they will invest the $5 into the business, and so we continue to place our trust and confidence in them. I don't even mention the YBT that's doing a number of things as well. We'll continue to place the trust in them. We'll continue to mobilize resources, cheaper financing for them, making it more accessible for them, and this is what we're going to do. I just want to make a point too that in these instances we should not only rely on government to provide financing. You have a gentleman, you have a foundation called Sugar Judge Inc.
Yeah.
Who has launched a small business support program where that enterprise guarantees loans for these applicants. So if every private sector person who has money, who has some money, can do a little bit in every little corner of Dominica, it can complement what government is doing. And so these are things that we need to encourage. And these things, it doesn't have to be huge amounts. For somebody, all they need is $5,000 or $10,000. That can make a huge difference in the realization of the dream. So we really commend people like Sugar Judge Inc. for this initiative, and we're hoping that others can follow and to complement what the government is doing with regards to supporting small businesses in Dominica.
All right. Mr. Skerrit, within the context of a soaring fuel and commodity prices, which is having a direct impact on spending power and economic activity here in Dominica, how is government responding to ease the burden on our local consumers or local people?
Well, there are a number of things that we have done, and we've articulated some of them in the budget, but the most important thing for all of us in this country, and when you look at the government, is that we have maintained every single job in Dominica. That's one of the most important things that we have to pay attention to. And we continue to pay salaries in the public service on time. Clearly, the rise in the fuel prices affects the government in a huge way, because the government is the largest consumer of goods and services in Dominica. So we've had to pay more to Domlec for electricity. We've had to pay more to run the police and the hospital, because we have to use more fuel at a higher price. Insofar as the consumers are concerned, the citizens of Dominica are concerned, we have been subsidizing the price of electricity in Dominica. We have been subsidizing this. We've also been subsidizing the price of petrol and products at the pump. Now, these are monies that we give to these companies, um, as a subsidy for keeping the price at a particular level to cushion the impact on our citizens. And we've maintained all our social services. Not one has been compromised. Not one has been impacted. We spend in excess of $4 million every month on the National Employment Program. Not one person has been asked to stay home, or we have not asked the NEP ministry to cut the number of people engaged. And this means a lot to many people who are under the National Employment Program. Over $4 million every month. So we continue to ensure that people have the means and so forth. We provide parents with all of the school supplies they need for the children, from school shoe to school bag to pencils and pens and textbooks and writing books. And of course, we provide free transportation to students, free to them, but the government pays a significant amount of money every month to bus owners across Dominica. When you look at the prices on the shelf, and people have to understand too and appreciate, and I think Dominicans understand this. I mean, Dominicans are reasonable people. They understand these things. They follow the news. They know what's happening around the world. Every one of us has families in one country or the other, and they report to us how things are in where they reside. This is a global phenomenon. It's an issue that every country is dealing with. The increase in prices. This is imported inflation. The prices are imported here, and one of the things I believe that we need to do in the government is to speak more on the issue of VAT and the issue of import duties on certain goods. You will be surprised the extent of items on the shelves which do not attract VAT, mm-hmm. and which do not attract import duty, and which do not attract both taxes. I think it's important for us to publicize those lists, because people believe that it is because of the taxes why some of the goods are as high as they are. This is not the case, because in countries where there are no taxes, they are also high. So it's a global problem stemming from COVID-19 and exacerbated made worse by the Russia-Ukraine war, where supply cut. For example, you hear of OPEC cutting production, and the U.S. government and others are upset over this, because if you cut production, there's a possibility that the price may go up. So far, it has not, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. It has not, but it's something to watch very carefully. That it might increase, so we have to watch it carefully. I think there are certain practices that we can engage ourselves as consumers. We have to compare prices, and we have to watch what we consume, but also try as far as possible to consume local stuff. In this time, it requires a certain spirit of nationalism to support local products and to keep the monies in Dominica and to keep the jobs in Dominica. But we'll continue to monitor, and what additional actions we have to take. We listen to the public, their criticisms, their concerns, their suggestions, and so our ears are on the ground, and we're monitoring the global situation. But it is difficult for governments as well, because while our revenues have gone back up, at the same time we've seen the cost of government going up, because of the increase in price of goods and services in Dominica and the world over. So we're really looking forward to the end of this war between Russia and Ukraine. This is why I believe I have said to some of our friends in the international community that we need to start speaking, we need to start talking. And I think the president of Turkey is in a good position to help. The prime minister of India is in a good position to help. The president of China is in a good position to help. I believe that we need to ask the Pope to play a part, and of course the head of the Orthodox Church to see if they can engage the various parties and to find a resolution. I mean, World War I and II ended because of negotiations, and I think we have an opportunity we should go back to diplomacy. We should go back to engaging both sides and to find a solution to this, because the entire world is being affected by this. And when you have this to contend with, plus the impact of climate change and the weather, the change of weather patterns, it is really time to bring this war to an end.
It's already 19 minutes before the hour of 9 o'clock. We'll open up the lines in just a few. I know you're eager to interact with the Honorable Prime Minister, but Prime Minister, there are a couple areas that I must touch on within the hour we have allotted to us. And one of this is, what is a major component of your government's development thrust? The construction of an international airport, which we expect will open up a wide range of economic opportunities for our country. How far has government progressed with this important project?
We made tremendous progress. As you know, we had to relocate a number of families. We have built homes for them. From all reports, they're very happy with the homes. There were one or two improvements we had to make, and those are being made and have been made. People are very happy with the homes, the quality of the homes. Both the homes that we built for the residents there and those they built on their own, really beautiful homes that they built, and people are happy about this. We continue to make lands available to the farmers so they can continue to plant and to grow food. Insofar as the airport is concerned, as you know, we entered in agreement with a developer, MMC, on the Citizenship by Investment Program. And thus, I know when people heard about the signing of a construction contract with China Railway 5, CR5, people were a bit confused. Now, as we've explained, this international airport is being done in partnership with MMC as a developer. It is MMC that will enter into a contract with the contractor, because the risk and the liabilities are with MMC and not the Treasury of Dominica, because we have no sovereign guarantee on this contract. It is MMC that has to raise the funds utilizing the CBI program to finance the construction of the airport. And this is one of the most amazing ways that we have been able to advance our project, or the construction of the most transformational project I will say in Dominica's history, and not have any direct impact on the Treasury of Dominica, so that current and future generations don't have to pay for a multi-million-dollar project, or more than $1 billion project. We don't have to pay anything back in terms of loans or commitments to anybody. And so this is what happened, where there was a final signing of the construction contract between CR5 and MMC. And so it's no different from how we do the housing. We have a relationship agreement with MMC, but they're the ones who raise the funds and they're the ones who enter in the contracts, and so the liabilities are theirs. CR5 has been mobilized. They have been in Dominica for the last 8 months or so, dealing with the various aspects of local construction material, engaging various service providers, and so later this year you will see massive mobilization taking place. And you will certainly see some earth movement towards the end of this year, but certainly in the first quarter of 2023, you will see serious earth movement on the site, and it is expected that the international airport will be constructed, will come to completion towards the end of 2026, and we have made some improvements to the master plan. We've made some changes to the designs of the terminal building, and it will be an international airport that you will see nowhere in the Caribbean. It will be a masterpiece. It will be attractive. I mean, you're talking about in terms of the architectural design. We're making a lot of facilities and amenities available at the airport. So Dion, if you're traveling and you have a long wait at the airport, we're making provisions where you could get a massage while you wait for the flight. We're making provisions where you could get your pedicure and a manicure at the airport. You could get a haircut, or you could get your hair collared or
I'll go for the collar
or what have you, braided if you're waiting. There'll be several restaurants, some opportunities for people, small business to showcase their items for sale. We'll have VIP lounges for business travelers and also FBOs and so forth. Massive customs building, residences for the customs officers too. Some changes have been made to the fire service based on the recommendations of our fire chief. So we've taken a number of things. There'll be a health center on site, and this came about because of the pandemic, where we had to create facilities at the Douglas Childs to respond. So we put in a health facility on the airport in the event that we are faced with a similar matter like that, or there's an incident at the airport and that you have to provide some services while you transport the patient to the hospitals. So it will unveil very soon the finalized master plan and the designs to the country, but it is going to be an amazing project which we believe is going to help transform Dominica in terms of agriculture, in terms of tourism, and the creation of sustainable jobs for people, better paying jobs for our young people. This is where we advancing, and it's a major national project, and I'm so happy that the Lord has blessed us with this opportunity to finally be on our way to achieving something that appeared to have been so elusive for so many decades in our country, and we're very grateful to the Lord for that.
In keeping with that, Prime Minister, and I don't have to tell you that many in our society have their doubts about the construction of the international airport and whether it will come to fruition. How do you reassure finally these people?
Well, Thomas, Christ had the Last Supper and Thomas was present. St. Thomas was present, and he would have seen Christ crucified. He would have seen Christ on the Jesus on the cross, but he couldn't believe that he would have risen. Even if he saw the fact that Jesus Christ performed miracles, he saw Jesus raise Lazarus from the dead, and he made the blind see and the lame walk. He still did not believe that the good Lord could raise his own son from the dead. And Thomas told Jesus, "I will only believe if I see the piercing of the nail in your hands." And Jesus had to show it to him, and then he said he believed. So you have people who subscribe to the doctrine according to St. Thomas, that they lack faith, and they will only see. Faith is your belief in what you've not seen, and this government has a track record. All I say to the doubting Thomas is that this government, under the leadership of Roosevelt Skerrit, and I say so with the greatest sense of humility, we're not boasting here, has always kept its word. And people have said, when we build the stadium, it will never be built. People said we were just going to do some minor repairs at the now Dominica China Friendship Hospital. They said the West Coast Road will never come. They said there's no way you can build all these homes for Bellevue, Chopin, and do big people. What are you going to do? Where are you going to get the money from? There's no way you can do that. I mean, what are you talking about? 300 homes? No way. A whole village? That's not going to happen, Skerrit. Skerrit telling lies. What has happened? It's there. When we spoke about one university graduate from every home, we are well on our way to achieving this. And so people have doubted us on a number of occasions, and we have proven them with the help of God to be wrong. And I am confident that we shall have our international airport, and which will help transform our country and create increased sustained opportunities for Dominica. Dominica is becoming the sought-after country, and certainly we're going to be having our international airport, and those who doubt it will be in the business VIP lounge waiting, having a black label and coconut water, waiting for their flight to the United Kingdom.
We're already winding down on this return edition of Focus on Government and Development. We're in with the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. The lines are open and they are already going. Good evening, you're live with the Honorable Prime Minister. Yes? Hello? All right, we seem to have lost that caller. You can call 1-800-327-305-432, 9744-448-3281 or 448-3279. Good evening, you're on with the Honorable Prime Minister.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Yes, ma'am, I can.
Good evening, PM.
Hi, good evening to you. Good evening.
I would like to congratulate you.
Thank you.
And PM, I would like you to repeat this verse. I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength. And by the grace of God, we will see the new international airport in Dominica built.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Amen for that. We're very confident. We're very confident. Very confident. And as you know, we give God all the praise and thanks for this. So we're just instruments that the Lord is using to help transform our country, and our commitment to the country is unwavering. And we will see this international airport constructed in Dominica. We'll certainly see it.
Good evening and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good evening. I just want to tell Prime Minister that I am pleased with all what he's doing. I know he's trying to help everybody else, especially when he had the Yes You Care. I love that man. For just more for that Yes You Care. Anyway, what I want to talk about is I have a problem with under my house with smoking, and police come in and tell them they cannot be smoking under there because I'm an elderly person. They say Prime Minister they didn't say we have to smoke and we are not to smoke.
That's right.
So I really would like him to tell them they can't just come under my building and smoke, and they cursing me, they calling me witch, they calling me sukuya. Prime Minister Eli, if you could
I'll speak to that, ma'am. Yeah, thank you very much. You know, we start to decriminalize a certain quantity of marijuana, as I said earlier, the consumption of it. But we're very clear in terms of where you can smoke and where you cannot smoke, and focusing more on where you should not be smoking. And I think, those who smoke, have to respect people's rights and privileges, and we can't be flaunting and flouting the smoking of marijuana like this as we're doing. I see it happen, and I think we need to stop it. We need to show more manners and respect. And in the case of the senior citizen, we as young people, we cannot show disrespect to senior citizens like this. This lady is at her home and she's seeking to get a rest, and she's not a smoker, and she doesn't want to inhale the marijuana smoke. And I think those who are responsible for this, and there are some other areas I know of this happening, we need to stop it. I mean, this is not cool at all. It's not making you a bigger man by smoking in the public and you have a marijuana in your hand and you're smoking in people's faces and so forth. This is not right. It is wrong, and it has to be condemned by all of us in Dominica, and allow people respect your right to smoke, but you must also respect people's right not to inhale your smoke in the public space. And the last thing you want is for the police now to be arresting people for smoking in the wrong places. Like, we try to move away from this by allowing you to smoke, but now you want to be smoking all over the place, on the bus stop, on the bus, and in people's private spaces. This is not the intention, my friends, and we have to respect this.
Good evening, you're on with Prime Minister Skerrit. Good evening, welcome to the program.
That's right.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, I just want to...
Yes, go ahead. Hello?
Hello, you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I felt like I tell the Prime Minister how happy and comfortable we are with his leadership style. He have accomplished a lot for Dominica, and we are very thankful. And we want him to know also in the diaspora that they are more on his side than those who are against him. So continue the good work, and we continue to support him, his policies, and continue to see the growth and sustainable development of Dominica as we go into the future. Thank you again, and I'm listening.
Yeah, thank you, caller. I mean, as you know, this government has worked under very trying circumstances. People don't forget that we are faced with several, at least myself as Prime Minister, I've been faced with several natural disasters, an economic crisis, financial crisis from 2008 to 2015, a global oil crisis where we saw the price of a barrel went up to $150 per barrel back in the days. Hurricane Maria, Tropical Storm Erica, the pandemic. One cannot contest the fact that this government, and we say so with the greatest sense of humility, managed COVID-19 with exemplary performance. I mean, the way that we went about preparing ourselves and mobilizing resources and being among the first to have access to vaccines when vaccines were so impossible to get, whether you had the money or not. I mean, we have worked under trying circumstances, and here we are now. You only look back and look at the destruction caused by Maria. Everybody in this country, maybe except me, said that we were finished, that we would never get back. It was 20 years. And now, we would take things for granted sometimes. And I always quote Alan Greenspan, who says that a government can take a country so far, so fast, that the people start taking things for granted. And we have to be careful in Dominica that we take things for granted.
This is for... We've lost that caller. Hello, welcome to the program.
Good evening, Fireman Touching Base. Good evening to Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Roosevelt Skerrit, and Fireman say you is a world boss. And thank you, sir, for what you're doing for my country and for the people of Rivernica. You know why? Be back. And it was a great moment for a young man like you to take position and take Kingman place then. That's why we love you. Freak out of Rivernica. As the brother just call and say, outside there with you. No matter what people say and do, you have a work to do and you cannot do by yourself. So we, the people of Rivernica and outside Rivernica, have to work with you to develop our country and our people. Thank you very much. World boss, we love you for life. Nobody can stop that. You're there for hundreds of years. Up and running, fireman running, blessed up. Give thanks for life.
Thank you, fireman, and thank you for your kind words. Our commitment to this country, we came to serve and serve. We are serving, and we continue to serve. And our commitment, and when the going gets tough, the tough keeps going. And we are committed to this country, and we'll continue to together with the citizens of Dominica, find solutions to our everyday challenges.
Good evening.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
Let me say good night to the Honorable Prime Minister also.
Good night to you,
I
sir.
am coming from West Bay. I am a small business owner.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Prime Minister, one of the biggest problems we have in the country is that we are underpopulated. And my question I'm asking, what are you putting in place to open the eyes of people from all over the universe to move in Dominica? Because what we have here, we find we have a high rate of people migrating from the country. And then what you're hearing on the street is that we don't have the jobs, we don't have the power of earning money, and stuff like that. We are underpopulated.
Yeah.
Underpopulated country is one of the biggest problems. And I'm a small business owner in the village of West. Everybody knows who I am.
Yeah, I know the voice.
So I'm just asking a question because cool. I really like to know, because I'm telling you the truth, it is rough for the small business owners in...
Well, I agree with you in terms of the population size. I have lamented on the small population size. I believe we need more people in the country. And it is something that we as citizens of Dominica are going to have to decide what kind of incentives we're going to be providing to encourage procreation in our country. The reality is that you still have a significant number of people who do not have children, and so I'm urging them to consider this very seriously. And the reality is, this is a lot of people are preoccupied with their career and so forth. There are also some environmental challenges that we will not speak of tonight, that we can speak of some other time. But I agree with you that there need to be more people in the country. In terms of opportunities, I disagree with you about lack of opportunities. The reality is there are non-nationals who come into our country and they create the opportunities, and they see opportunities and they take advantage of it, and they are doing well. I think sometimes in Dominica, and I'm not necessarily responding to you, Colin, I'm speaking in general terms, I think sometimes we have to look on life on the positive side and to focus on the positive side and to take advantage of the opportunities that are available, rather than complain about the opportunities that are not available. So we have to look at this. So I agree with you on the population side, and it's something I believe at some point we have to look at some policy considerations.
We'll be with you until 9:15. We're still taking your calls for the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Go ahead.
Yes. Mr. PM, I'm calling from the Kingsville Melvin Battery area. And I have discussed that thing at length with many different reps in the area. We have a 400 feet of road. There's no mountain for excavator to cross. And apparently for years upon years, I've been talking about that Kingsville Melvin Battery, just about 400 feet. It's a flat road, sir. And everybody that come in the area there, who representing government, come in and measure that road. And those judges have to do it for a number of times, get out of it.
Okay.
I
will come visit. I'll come visit on Saturday morning.
Saturday?
Yeah. Okay. So I know the Parliament is listening, so I'll arrange a time. I'll come visit on Saturday morning. This area you're talking about. But you'll agree, caller, when you look at the condition of the roads in Kingsville, back many years, this government has invested significant sums of money in Melville Battery and the Greater Kingsville. The roads are certainly very smooth in those areas, from Newtown go up to Melville Battery, the back road, Center Street, Back Street. We spend a significant amount of money in Melville Battery. But I take note of your plea for this section, and I'll come visit with the Minister of Public Works and the Parliament to see what we can do to alleviate your plight.
Caller, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Please go ahead.
Good night.
Hi.
Yeah, good night, PM.
Hi, how are you, my brother? How are you?
I'm not too bad at all. Good. PM, I have been coming in here from January,
But you're not coming to see me. Are you on the radio, but you're not coming to see me?
PM, you know how many attempts I have made.
Are you in Dominica now?
I'm in Dominica since in June.
All right, I'll call you later. I'll see you.
Okay. I walked through, one of the things that are being spoken about here is about parking.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I have a little concept for a parking area. Mm-hmm. And I will address it now, but I will come to see you. Mm-hmm. There is this place just below the little roundabout coming out from the Rose Street back road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? That lower section of that road.
That's towards the apartments.
Towards the apartment building. Yeah. Yes. There are these two sections that can be used. And
but just to tell you, Paulo, we have, many years ago we developed a design for this area,
yes.
A design with proper washrooms, with opportunities for little shops and bars and little eating areas.
Yes.
And the idea was to, in an effort to reduce on the congestion in the city.
Yes.
This would have been one of the major bus stands in Dominica.
Yeah, that's
the plan there. But sometimes we don't. We got a little pushback at the time, and we did not advance it. But I agree with you.
Because
it's something that we should.
Up to today, for that matter, I took photographs of that place.
Yeah.
Because I recently witnessed a construction of a parking area in the Virgin Islands, just on the cruise area around before you go to St. John in Red Hook, and the area is very conducive for that kind of construction. So,
No, we have a plan for this. So I think some people have visited first in recent time.
Yes.
And I think it might be an opportune time for us to
revisit it. I think so myself.
And check it out.
But I am here now since in June. I have been trying to meet you.
Come see me at 11:30 tomorrow morning. Okay, God's willing. 11:30. Yeah.
Yes, Prime Minister. That caller is gone. Prime Minister, as we wind down the program, we have 10 more minutes here on DBS Radio and Cairo FM. I wanted to touch on an announcement we saw in the press last week that the government of Dominica has entered into an agreement with Tron, which is described as a leading global blockchain platform as Dominica's designated national blockchain infrastructure. And as you know, Prime Minister, cryptocurrency is not an area that many of us understand very well. But I noticed that the announcement has elicited quite a bit of interest and positive feedback, at least on social media. So I wanted you to comment on that.
I mean, it has generated certainly in many quarters some excitement. The agreement is really an opportunity for us to explore the future possibilities where this is concerned. I mean, blockchain and cryptocurrency has been around the world for many years now. There are many developed countries that are engaging in it. We're not saying that this is going to become our currency or transaction in Dominica to replace the EC dollar. We are part of a monetary union, and our monetary policy is centralized. But let's face it, we have this Labour Party has sent out thousands of young people to universities. Thousands of people. We've been criticized for it, but we had to address an injustice in our country where so many young Dominicans were denied opportunity for higher education. And our young people who go to universities are looking for better and higher paying jobs. I go to construction sites. I see young Dominican engineers on this construction site, but they're well dressed. They're well dressed. People want to dress properly, especially young women want to dress properly and go to work, and therefore this is why we introduced in this country the issue of the digital transformation of Dominica, to use the advancement in technology to create a new set of opportunities for young Dominicans to be able to get higher paying jobs, and decent work, and so we have to allow ourselves as a country to explore all of the possible opportunities which exist in this world, in an effort to create better paying jobs and more decent work for people, for young people in particular coming from universities. And we have made tremendous strides where the digital economy is concerned, where we have dozens of young Dominicans who are earning top dollar by sitting in their living rooms, by sitting in their bedrooms, working for international companies, and are able to do many other things during the course of the day. And this is a trend that we're going to be continuing. We are working heavily with Clare Harbour. Clare Harbour now has employment of about 300 people in Portsmouth, and we're going to be working with them to even increase the number of people nationally who are employed at Clare Harbour. Clare Harbour has about close to 1,000 people employed with it as we speak. And so this agreement that we entered in is really to explore the future possibilities where blockchain or cryptocurrency is concerned, and to see how can Dominica position itself to benefit from these opportunities, where our young people can get better paying, sustainable jobs, and be able to build their homes in Dominica, buy a lot, build their homes, have a decent car to drive, and be able to take a vacation when they would like to take a vacation. And this is our preoccupation. And as the Prime Minister of this country, I believe I have an obligation and a responsibility to explore opportunity. So I have received a number of feedback from this. And certainly as we go along, we'll be engaging and explaining to Dominican citizens, young people, how we believe that they'll be able to benefit from this from this phenomenon in the global community that has been around for a long time. And the reality is, we as developing countries, because we have to continue to set ourselves in an environment where we can sustain ourselves. I mean everything we do as developing countries rather, there's some entity that is at us to get us out of what we're doing to be independent. But the reality is they're doing these things themselves, and they will give you the impression that this is not good and we should not go in that direction. But they're enjoying the benefit of this. So I have been following the blockchain and cryptocurrency matter for a very long time and educating myself and being educated by others who are experts on this. And I believe this lends itself to opportunities of Dominica. We're not saying that this is going to become Dominica's legal tender. This is not what it is. It's about examining and exploring the possible opportunities for the creation of better paying, sustainable jobs for young people who are coming out of universities. And we are Dominicans who are in the United States, who have been trained by us, and who are not working who remain in the United States but who are not working. And we have to ensure that we can give these young people the determination to come back to Dominica and be certain of getting a decent paying job. And that is a preoccupation number one for us in the government.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Prime Minister. We'll fit in one more call. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister.
Yes, sir. Good evening to you.
And the nice things you said. I have 2 questions for you, sir.
Sure.
When we going to see the power station in Padu up and running so we could burn less fuel? Question 1. I have another question for you, but I want to keep that one off the radio before I run it. I want to run it by you before I put it on the radio.
All right, thank you for the courtesy. I know the last I spoke to Dominic is that they were making good progress in the improvements to the Padu Power Station, and I agree with you, caller, that if we can get the Padu Power Station in full production, then there'll be a reduction in the use of diesel to generate power for us, and of course you'll see a reduction in the fuel surcharge and therefore a reduction in the electricity bill. Well, Dominic is listening, I'm sure, and they'll be in a better position to give us the most latest update on the power station. But it is something that was a priority number one for Dominic and the government, to have Padu Power Station up and running. I know they had acquired the parts for this and making every effort to have it fully functional. But certainly, Dominic is listening, and I'm sure they'll be able to give a response on this.
Mm-hmm. Prime Minister, I want to thank you so much for taking our questions this evening. And I must tell you, there's so many other areas I want to address, and I'm sure we'll have that opportunity in the coming weeks and months. But I wanted to end on this note. This month is a celebratory month for Dominicans here and abroad. As we celebrate our 44th anniversary of independence, what would be your message to our people within the context of nation building and the need to unite in the face of mounting global challenges?
Well, the world is experiencing serious dislocation and challenges. We in Dominica are known to challenges, and we have surmounted them. I believe if there is a greater focus on national development, and each of us making a concerted contribution to this, it's not only about I want Dominica to be at this country or that country, but the question is, what is going to be your contribution? What is your contribution to getting Dominica to where you want to get to? And I think this is how we have to look at our own contribution to Dominica, as we seek to get Dominica to a particular level in its development. It's a very important time for us. 44 years of independence as a nation. We know what challenges are. We're resilient people, and I believe that when we work together, we can really move mountains. And our country is at a very important stage with a number of transformational projects, whether it's geothermal, the international airport, the marina will come. We have signed the contract, and we were delayed by the utility companies for the roads enhancement project. We're starting off the Great George Street. We have a number of major housing projects going on. As I said, I signed off about 250 additional homes today to be built across Dominica. About 500 or so are under construction as we speak. We have, even if we're owing some universities, but our students are sitting in the classrooms at universities, many of whom have graduated. We have made a commitment, and we're keeping firm to a commitment to paying and to maintaining our commitments or promise to every student. So there are a lot of things that our farmers are producing, our hucksters are exporting. There's a thriving small business community in Dominica. I don't think Dominicans understand and appreciate the extent of the presence of small businesses in Dominica and the agro processors and the cottage industries, the craft builders. I met a young lady at my office today who is doing upholstery. I've seen couches that she has transformed from something that you would really throw away to something brand new. A young lady, in her 30s, and she's a lady who we're gonna be giving the support to expand and to sustain her business very soon. And so there are a number of such people across Dominica. People who are making the punches and the pepper sauce, and so many people who are engaged in so many enterprising efforts. And I think we have to look at the positive things. We have to be a more positively thinking society and bigging up people, supporting each other. If somebody in your village has a small business, support it. Do not hope that the person fails, because if the person fails, the society is going to be worse off. If the person succeeds, then we'll all benefit from this and so forth. So in this year of our independence is a time to do our own personal introspection, and also to do our introspection as a country. And I believe that if we're honest with ourselves, we would certainly give high commendation to this government for its efforts, and notwithstanding all of the global challenges that has beset it. And we have been, the capacity and the abilities of the government has not been on display, in other words, it has been on greater display in difficult times. Dominicans know that when difficult time hits our shores and hit this world, that you are comforted to know that it is this government that's in office, experienced people who know the global situation, people who understand discipline and organization, and so we give to Dominicans order and discipline, not confusion. You won't get me resigning abruptly and leave my party leaderless for an extended period of time. That when I'm leaving, and I will leave at some point, that there should be an orderly handover, and seamless transition. And this is my commitment to the country, and this is my commitment to the party which I lead. And so Dominicans can rest assured that you're in way safer hands with this Dominican Labour Party in government. And let us work together. Let us unite this country. And I have no animosity towards anybody, no ill feeling towards anybody. I can say so without any fear of any contradiction. So let us work together. We give you in this party, in this government, our commitment to working with every citizen, We may have our differences, but at the end of the day, we're all Dominicans. And I believe that we all would like to see Dominica prosper. The question is, are we prepared to make our individual and collective contributions? So thank you for hosting me on Focus on Government and Development. I always like when I come here to spend 3-4 hours. 1 hour is not enough because the most important part of me being here, I said, is not me speaking to the Dominican people, but taking questions from them and their suggestions and ideas and concerns, and so that where I can address them in my capacity as Prime Minister, I will do so. So God bless all of you. Happy Independence. Tomorrow is Friday, and it is customary and mandated that we wear something Creole. So whether it's a tie or it's a tie or whatever, madras and so on, let us wear something Creole tomorrow as we look forward to our independence celebrations. Thank you. God bless. Good night, and let us have a wonderful day tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister, for joining us. And based on your previous reference, maybe next time we can tilt our conversation a little bit more to the political. But thank you.
Sure, no problem. I don't mind answering the political questions. I look forward to that.
I'm sure our listeners are quite interested in that kind of discussion and hearing what you think about our political environment going forward. But thank you again. We look forward to talking with you again about the plans of your government and the various initiatives underway and upcoming as we forge ahead with the development of Dominica. You're invited to join us again as we talk with other government officials in the coming weeks on the various programs they are spearheading within their respective government departments. I invite you to join us on DBS Radio and Kyrie FM. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Good evening. Your government is working for you. Find out how every Thursday on Focus on Government and Development. We'll explore the programs, plans, and policies in place to improve your lives. Hear from the policymakers and call in with your questions and comments. Focus on Government and Development, Thursdays 8 to 9 p.m. on DBS Radio and Kyrie FM.